Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a single concept that, honestly, might just change how you see every single one of our planet's biggest challenges. We're constantly bombarded with news about all these environmental crises, right? Climate change, species going extinct, pollution everywhere. It is so easy to feel completely overwhelmed, like you're battling some kind of mythical hydra. You chop off one head and poof, two more just sprout right back in its place. But what if they aren't actually separate battles? What if we've been running around trying to solve them one by one when they all actually stem from the exact same root cause? Well, the sources we're looking at today argue that, yeah, they're all just symptoms of a single, much deeper problem. A fundamental imbalance that's, well, it's often really difficult to see and maybe even harder to admit. Okay, so let's peel back those layers and really look at this deeper predicament, the one single diagnosis that connects all of these different symptoms together. The diagnosis is a state called ecological overshoot, and according to the research, this has been the main driver of global instability for decades now. So, what in the world is overshoot? Well, the best way to get your head around it is to imagine our planet as a giant bank account, one that has a very strict annual budget. So on one side of the ledger, you've got the Earth's biocapacity. This is everything nature can provide in a given year, all the timber from forests, all the fish from the oceans, and the atmosphere's ability to absorb our carbon. You can just think of this as our planet's total annual income. And then on the other side of that ledger is our ecological footprint. That's everything we humans demand from nature. So when our annual spending, our footprint, becomes greater than the planet's annual income, that's when we enter a state of ecological overshoot. And this quote, this just nails it perfectly. We are living on credit. We're drawing down our planet's natural capital, the forests, the fish stocks, the clean air, way, way faster than it could ever hope to replenish itself. It's that simple. And this isn't just some clever metaphor. It's a measurable reality. We actually have the data to prove we've been overdrawing our planetary bank account for a while now. For most of human history, we actually lived within our planet's means. But then, data from the Global Footprint Network shows we crossed this critical line sometime in the early 1970s. And since then, we have been in a state of global overshoot every single year. In fact, we mark this moment every year with something called Earth Overshoot Day. It's the literal date on the calendar when humanity's demand for the year has outstripped what the Earth can regenerate in that entire year. Every single day after that, we're living on credit. Think about this for a second. Our current collective demand for resources is equivalent to what 1.7 Earths could provide. 1.7. We're using 70% more than our planet can regenerate in a single year. We only have one Earth, but we're living as if we have almost two. So what happens? What happens when any species lives beyond the means of its habitat? Well, as it turns out, nature has a very consistent and very unbreakable rule for exactly this scenario. Now, this might actually surprise you, but overshoot isn't some uniquely human problem. It's a natural phenomenon. It happens in ecosystems all the time. Any species that overshoots its habitat follows this really predictable cycle. First, there's a huge boom in population while resources are everywhere, and then an inevitable crash or contraction as those resources just run out. And we see this exact pattern everywhere in nature. It doesn't matter if it's algae blooming in a lake until there are no nutrients left, or a wolf pack that grows so large it just depletes its prey. The outcome is always the same. When a species takes too much, its population is forced to shrink. The system always finds a way to rebalance itself. Always. And this brings us to, well, the most difficult part of this whole diagnosis. See, overshoot isn't fundamentally a technology problem. It's a behavior problem. Scientists from all over the world have put out warnings saying that our current mess is being driven by human behaviors that, ironically, once helped us survive, but now directly threaten our existence. We are literally hardwired by evolution to do this, to reproduce, to expand, to use every single resource available to us. For thousands and thousands of years, this programming made us incredibly successful. But on a finite planet, armed with all this powerful technology, that exact same programming is what's pushing us deeper and deeper into overshoot. So I guess the final takeaway is this. Recognizing overshoot isn't really about finding some simple, quick tech fix. It's about facing a much, much more profound question. If the problem is rooted in the very evolutionary programming that made us who we are, how do we even begin to confront our own nature?